You know what? I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing.
Nobody does.
I
We
don't
spoke about this.
I don't know what I'm doing. I don't think, and nobody knows what they're doing. So if you listen to all the episodes thus far, you're gonna feel this underlying theme of, it's about health and wellness and positivity and, spreading love and awareness of these things. And these are things that I want this podcast to focus on. But every day, all day, being positive, like holding on to that, it's unrealistic. It's not real. So when you see all these people on Facebook, Instagram, just constantly, well, you know what? Today, it's going to be a better day because you have to put your best foot forward. And you know what? There's somebody that loves you. And you know what? It might be true. It might be true, sure. But every day, all fucking day, it's not true. If you didn't know me and you listen to all these episodes thus far, you probably think I'm soft. You probably think I'm fake. You probably I'm Kim Kardashian in a CVS, like lost. I'm not. I'm a regular dude, but I'm a regular dude. I shovel snow when it snows, and then I have to go to work. And by the way, when I do that, people. This is the thing.
You put a cone in the parking spot?
No. I wish I had a fucking cone, right? I wish I had something. I actually wish I had a flamethrower from the Boring Company, but I don't. But
How much was it? It was like 500.
With the flamethrower?
The flamethrower, yeah. Honestly, I saw it and I was like, this looks like a good purchase. I need to speak with my financial advisor.
I would buy it, and I know what I'd use it for. And let me tell you what I use it for. So it's been snowing a lot. We live in New York, and it's been just in the Northeast, it's been snowing a lot, as it does almost every winter, right?
Pretty much.
And now Texas, apparently. And we'll get to that. But it's been snowing, and I don't have a snowblower. And I don't have people that will snowblow the snow for me. I don't have people to do that for me, right? So I have to go to work in general, right? So
you got to put that foot forward.
yeah, that's right. Oh, yeah. Oh. So fucking, I go to shovel the snow, and fine. I'll do it. Productive, get it done, park my spot. A couple of days later, somebody takes that spot. And this car, I've seen this car before.
Multiple times?
I've seen this car before.
Do you know them? Or like...
No, I don't know them, but I will know them eventually.
You know what would have been great? If you got there and you caught them in the act of taking your spot. So you just see the car pull in and you're like, this motherfucker.
Listen, there will be a day where I come across who drives that car. We will cross paths. And I'm going to let them know. But the day they took my spot, I'm like, well, listen, I don't want to go around looking for a spot and take somebody else's.
Right.
So I'm going to just create a new spot. I took the shovels out and just dug out a new one. Mm-hmm. And then I parked there. The next day, another car takes that spot. One of the titles of these episodes was community, and I'm out here talking about love and community and just being
good,
just performing actions that are rooted in love and all these just beautiful
emotions and everything and the vibes, and then you go to work that second day.
And then, so what does that tell me? There's no church in the wild. All right. I'm the only one thinking that. And it's okay. It's all right. It's fine. I have no problem believing what I believe and then just carrying on. And I don't believe in harming other people and bringing other people's harm and bringing harm to other people. But I wanted to, and you know what? Before I say what I'm going to say, let me just preface this with something, right? I feel like people are afraid right now to say what they really feel.
I mean, it's mostly because we're in sensitive times.
Sure.
And another person could say people are just bitches now, or just the correct term. Huh. They're pussies. But like I imagine you just going to like the second day to work and you see that second spot taken and you're like, what the fuck happened to this community?
No, there is no
community. Everybody takes care of themselves and doesn't give a fuck until it affects them. That's what happens. And so until it affects them, then they give a fuck. which is why I think mostly like in this country or whatever state, let's just focus on New York, which is honestly the energy that New York is. I won't give a fuck about anything that doesn't affect me until it does. And then until it affects my fucking flow.
Right.
Because then I can't get shit done.
Yeah.
So
it's true. I agree. There's a fear of saying how you feel. And even a fear of acknowledging that you're not always going to feel positive. You're not always going to feel okay. And that is all right. You have to accept what you're feeling. And you have as individuals, we have a right, in this country at least, I will say, we have a right to freedom of speech.
Yeah.
We have that freedom. We have a right to be free, right? And I don't condone any negative behavior. I don't condone violence. I don't commit acts of violence. But I'll tell you what I was thinking of doing that I won't do. I wanted to pull whoever was driving that car and just, just kind of set them on fire a little bit, and then set the car on fire, and then set the whole fucking block on fire. And I've already lost a couple of people listening to this episode, and that's okay, right? Because I want you guys to know I'm not always, I'm a real person. I'm not gonna just be happy all the time.
It's not all sunshine and flowers all the time.
I'm embracing the Jungian shadow, as it were. What does it mean? What are you talking about? Carl Jung, you guys can look it up. You guys can look up who Carl Jung, and that's the other thing, right? I have to constantly dumb shit down for people. Look it up. Yeah. Look it up. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can look it up.
You know what? You know what's another thing? Actually, let me stop you on that.
Go ahead.
You know what's another thing?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say we're talking about information and sensitive information or something very specific. For example, you're talking about Carl Jung right now. So taking the person's word for it or taking the advice that a person says instead of looking it up for your own self is dumb as fuck. Because you're thinking that, well, okay, this person told me about it, so he must know more than I do. Instead of taking the initiative to actually look into the topic and research it, because then you're actually interested in it. Does that make sense? So like,
makes sense.
Because whatever somebody's telling you isn't going to be 100% truth. So taking their word for it and then ending up believing in that'll become your truth. So let's say I end up believing that, I don't know, let's just be dumb and specific, that Obama was president for like the next 8 years, and I believe that, right? And then I go to somebody and then I'm talking about how Obama's great, and they come to me and they're like, oh, he wasn't president for like the last 4 years, where are you at? And I'm like,
yeah,
what do you mean?
Yeah.
So then it's just like, that's another thing. So with that and information, let's talk about echo chambers, right?
Okay.
So when you're in that space and you're getting literally the meaning of echo chamber is literally, so let's say take the literal definition of the word, right? You in a chamber and you're talking and you're gonna hear your voice reverberate and go back to you, right? Because you're getting the same fucking information from everybody else. So if you stay in that position or area, you're really not gonna get any other ideas or opinions on anything, and you're not really gonna, I'd say, even grow your mindset or anything when it comes to that.
Yeah.
So
people are afraid to speak out of term in a way. Like they want, if they're in that echo chamber and they're receiving all of that information from that echo chamber, they don't want to speak out, whether it be for financial reasons, whether they don't want to damage their reputation. Mm-hmm. They're afraid, right?
They don't want to get on a person's bad side.
Yeah.
And they want to make their life easier. So they're like, I'll just agree with them.
Yeah.
Just to get them happy, and then I'll be on with my day.
Let me bring it back to what you said, their bad side. This is what Carl Jung, father of modern psychology, was talking about. Well, what he proposes is that there's something that's called the shadow archetype that represents the dark side of your personality.
Okay.
So it's this subworld of the psyche where you store the most primitive part of yourself, like your selfishness, the repressed instincts, the unauthorized self that your conscious mind rejects, right? So people will kind of stifle that. they'll stop themselves from feeling what they feel. Like if you're angry, if you're upset, if you're jealous, if you're any of those things, it's okay that you feel those things. That's part of human nature. But don't say that you don't have it, because that's a lie. Every human being has it.
You know why? Because people associate it with good and bad.
Sure, but that's in all of us.
Of course.
That's in all of us, right? Because we are human. And as a human, I want to set a car on fire. Now, I'm not gonna actually do it. But I can think about doing it, and then I can talk about doing it. Because I'm free.
Yeah.
I'm a free person. Somebody recently told me something amazing, and it's something that I really want to prove to be true, is that, podcasts are really one of the last bastions of free expression, of freedom of speech. Shout out to Paul. He's the one that told me that. My boy Paul Skrilla. And I feel like people are taking advantage of that now, especially because there's so many podcasts out, but they're still afraid. They're still afraid to really let people know how they feel, because of whatever box that they've already been placed in, right? For example, I'll give you an example.
There's no personality in that.
Well, I'll give you an example. 100%. And let me give you an example. So I'm 28. I'm Latino, educated male.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a man, right?
Yeah.
So, but I have my own experiences. So just based on that little description that I gave you, people probably have it. They want to just place me in a box. Well, he should think like this. He should believe this. And these are all the things that he should talk about, believe, any of these things, right?
Because you're a 28-year-old Latino man.
Right. If I wanted to play identity politics, if I wanted to do that, and I didn't want to be an individual, then I'd say, I'm going to believe everything that echo chamber is saying.
That's why categorizing is so whack.
Well, it's whack, but this is the thing. People, it's a control thing, most of that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to start talking about something, right? That's a little tricky to talk about.
Go for it.
Let me be clear from the beginning. I am not an anti-vaxxer. I'm not. I believe vaccines are helpful. I know a lot of people don't believe that. I know a lot of people have their own opinions, as it is their right to have. But I'm going to tell you what I think.
All right.
So, again, to be clear, I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I believe vaccines work scientifically. I believe that they've helped eradicate a lot of diseases that we don't see anymore, really, because vaccines have helped that, right?
Mm-hmm.
That being said, the diseases that have been eradicated, like a polio, like a mumps, like a measles, like any of those things, those were killing a lot of people in that time. Like a lot of people.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying a lot of people haven't died from COVID-19, but if you compare the numbers, it's nothing. And the other thing is, how many people have actually died from COVID-19? Because we know that if you have COVID and you die from something else, the death will be marked as a COVID death, right?
Yeah.
But let me get back to what I'm saying, right? This is what I really want to talk about. I just got a new stereo in my car. So I'm listening to the radio and I'm driving, boom, boom, boom. And sometimes, because I'm playing with different radio stations and stuff, I was listening to La X radio station, 96.3, whatever the fuck. And I don't really listen to Spanish radio like that, but I had it on and I'm listening. And they're speaking Spanish, so I'm listening, and then they're saying all crazy things like, a larger percentage of white people have been vaccinated because, they're more educated, they're more law-abiding, they're orderly. But if you compare those numbers to Latino numbers, the Latino numbers are really low. The percentage of black people taking the vaccine is really low. And, it just, so what they're saying is like, They're stating all these percentages of that to make the correlation that, well, Latinos aren't taking the vaccine as much because maybe we're not as educated, maybe we're not as sophisticated, maybe we're not of anything. And I'm listening and I'm like, well, I'm Latino, I'm educated, and I'm not going to take the vaccine. And I believe that that's my right. But I'm going to get bullied into doing it, whether it be because I want to maybe take a flight, right? Or because I want to go to a concert. This is my thing. I have never seen people been shamed into getting a vaccine. I've never seen that, and I'm listening to shit, and I'm like, wow. So is this really how people think? And I'm hearing this shit on the fucking radio.
Oh.
I'm hearing this shit on the fucking radio.
So
and
you're thinking that's their way of like, oh, we're less like, you should get the vaccine to prove that we're like of the same intellect and we're like smart as well or some shit like that. Because like when you hear that on the radio and you're like, oh wow, they're really shitting on Latinos and black people for not taking the vaccine, and they're calling us like, well, like stupid.
Yeah, I mean, what
I
is?
I wouldn't want to say it. Is it? No, it is.
It's not that it's stupid. It's just like they're trying to. In a way, yes.
That's how I'll take it.
No, okay, yeah.
Okay, so when you hear that, for like a middle-aged person, you're like, fuck this radio. I'm gonna get the vaccine because now I feel a certain way. That's a perfect example we were just talking about, getting bullied into fucking taking the vaccine, right? So
Yeah.
like, and it's just,
It's bullshit.
it is.
It's bullshit. It's bullshit. Like, you're gonna tell me what I have to listen? And by the way, I should have maybe even broken this down. Again, I believe vaccines work, but if I'm healthy enough and I have no issues and I'm young and my immune system is top, not like, what is it? So like, but this is the overall assumption as far as like the radio people go. They're saying that the vaccine is 100% going to work, 1,000%.
Mm-hmm.
And are they sure? They're not. No. And there's even been reports saying that no, it's not, like you may still get reinfected, or you may still, it's not a guarantee that you're not going to get it. So then why
even get it in the first place?
And there was no mention of the history that black people have had with vaccines, that troubled history. Like let me
It's kind of like how back then when the flu was a big thing. People would get the vaccines for the flu, and then they'd get sick of it. Like they get sick from taking the vaccine because usually with vaccines, from what I know, it'll be like a weakened version of the virus, right? And what that does is that it allows your body to get used to it and fight it off, because since it's a weaker version of it, it learns to create antibodies of it, from what I know.
Yeah.
And
let me ask you from what you know.
Yeah.
And I know we don't know. We're not doctors here. You know what I mean?
That's what I was going to talk about.
I'm not going to say you're an epidemiologist.
We don't know what the hell we're doing, right? So why do we think that they do? Obviously, they're more educated, right?
Yeah. Well,
but I'm talking about the doctor specifically researching this stuff, right? And if I look back at the history of how long it took to create a proper vaccine for each virus that has been released, this vaccine has come out less than a year. I'd say less than a year because it just marked the year in February or March.
Rushed.
So what they're doing, and I'm pretty sure they're not even gonna fucking tell people because who cares? Who cares, right? They're probably testing it on people that are willing to take it, and then they make those changes, and then they're like, oh, it's 100%, effective. It gets rid of it prevents you from getting the virus. You know what I'm saying? And you'll be healthy. You'll be able to go outside, and you'll have your freedom again. Didn't I have that freedom in the first place? What happened to that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Why? Listen, if you want to take the vaccine, take it.
Yeah, go for it.
If you don't want to take it, don't take it. That's it. That's really it. This shaming bullshit. And then you know how many times I go on Instagram and then I see these just got vaccinated posts. It's like, hey, nobody fucking cares. Like nobody, like I don't. You know how fucking sick I am of this stupid ass virtue signaling. You know how many times I see it. Like I'm fed up. I'm done with it. You know what I mean? And then this stupid little so I've seen these emails of like companies trying to get their employees to take it, right? But they can't legally. They can't say you're required to take it, right? But they'll say it three different times.
Yeah.
They'll say it 3 different times in the same email. They'll say, well, it's highly recommended that you do take it, or we strongly urge you we strongly recommend that that you go forward with receiving it. And if you want to do it, do it. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. But this whole shaming bullshit, I'm done with it. You know what I mean? And and I'm hearing this shit on the fucking radio, and I'm not surprised. I'm not, because not only is it a hot topic, but people, especially Latinos, they're gonna try different media outlets to see, okay, where can I? If you're on your way to work, you're gonna listen to the radio most times, right?
Yeah.
Maybe a podcast, maybe whatever
you want.
But the fact that they're just willing to discuss this in the way that they are, and the shaming, I'm like, what the fuck? I've never seen that before for any other vaccine. So I'm just saying I'm done with it. And we lost half our audience now after that whole rant. By the way,
at that point, if you're taking a picture of it proving that you took the vaccine, are you really doing it for yourself, or are you really doing it just for the attention, or for
clout?
For clout, because that's the new I'd say income, or that's the new obsession, right? You want clout because clout can be used in many different ways. And it can be for whatever you want, just for attention or for anything. If you're using it in a business standpoint, that you want a large amount of followers, and then you plan on creating this business, and then it starts selling, sure, that's smart. That's proper use of it, right? I'd say that's more of a following than clout, but it's more of the same thing. But if you're just getting it just because you're an attention whore, then just...
Well, you know what? You want to know what the universal slogan of our generation is? Or I want to say of the late 2010s and 2020s.
Educate me.
Do you want to know?
Educate me.
Do you want to know what the slogan is?
Educate me.
It's, hey, look at me. Everybody wants attention. We talked about this a little bit on the last episode for anybody that didn't listen to it. The game right now is, how can I grasp your attention? How can I grab it? And how can I hold on to it? Because the average attention span is 8 seconds. I think it's less than a goldfish.
It's gotten...
No, it's terrible.
It's gotten worse.
Yeah. So everything is about, how can I get people's attention? How can I get you to click? How can I get you to look at this? And the same is in everything. But I want to use an example
of something that
I want to use an example of something that I've been thinking about, right?
All right.
What you see this a lot is in the entertainment industry. So if you want to become a rapper, it's not good enough to have just really good raps and really good, production and really good messages. It's not enough. You have to really stand out somehow. You have to get that face tattoo. You have to get that pink and yellow hair. You have to be deeply rooted in the streets. You have to have at least 5 bodies on you. You have to go to prison. You have to have a really, really deep voice and be a Crip and be in Brooklyn. I am still... Listen, on February 19th, it was the 1-year anniversary of Pop Smoke being murdered.
It's already been a year.
It's already been a year, yeah. A little bit, like a weekend, maybe like a year, no, like a week or so maybe.
Yeah.
That affected me because the guy, he's 20 years old. He's 20 years old. He's rooted in that environment, and then he just gets taken out. He just gets taken out. My whole thing is, I believe there's a system in place to keep that going. To keep people have to keep trying to prove well, I'm hard. I'm gonna show you how hard I am, and you know what I mean? Even with me, I'm well, I don't know what I'm gonna talk about on the podcast because I haven't been to prison. I'm not talking about I'm going to talk about my own experience, right?
Yeah.
And people are not going to listen, so it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. But this whole thing of you have to be really hard. You have to do something insane. You have to do something crazy. You have to come from a crazy world to just get noticed.
To prove something.
No, not even that. To just get noticed.
Okay.
And I feel like a lot of people, I recently heard this on this other podcast, is a lot of people have been learning from Trump. A lot of people hate Trump, but they learn from him in the sense that you have to create these viral moments all the time. You have to kind of say crazy things. You have to look crazy. You have to really stand out some way in this ridiculous manner just to get noticed.
It's probably why he stayed as the main topic for 4 years.
Well, that and a lot of other reasons for
Yes,
sure. But
yes,
but that he understood how to manipulate that. He understood that that's what people really wanted.
Mhm.
And even dude, I just saw this crazy documentary on Netflix. The Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker thing.
Nah,
Have you seen like the Night Stalker?
I've never.
It's
heard
about
of
the
it.
serial killer from LA, like in the 80s,
Right.
killing like so many people, right? And
How much are we talking?
No, like let me give you like an actual number. But he was a serial killer and in the 80s and just terrorized LA, right? Now there's a documentary that goes in detail, describes every act of just every murder that he committed, because it gives you like the perspective from like the detective and stuff.
Yeah.
But you see all the shit that they've done and you're like, oh my God, it's so heinous. It's so disgusting. It's sickening, but you can't look away.
Because it's entertaining.
Because it's entertaining, right?
Things don't have to be good to be entertaining. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So, I think it was Denzel Washington in a movie, and I've always seen the clip of it. I don't know what movie it's from. He said I read this newspaper and there's a whole bunch of bullshit on it, and it's not good. It's bad, but it's entertaining, and that's why he reads it.
That's what reality TV is, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
That's why there's good content, and then there's bad content. But sometimes things can be so bad to the point that it's good. It's like, how did shit go this far left in the first place? But I still love it.
Dude, it's something about it. People we're attracted, we're appealed to the darkness of it. And I've kind of been realizing that I'm not going to speak for all women, but I will. And
I will take that initiative.
No, but from what I've noticed, at least in my world, the kind of darkness that I'm attracted to, that I'm interested in, is like crime and like things that have to do with crime, with drugs, with just violence. Like I'm not attracted to, but like I find those things appealing. There's something about that appeals to the darker nature within.
The darker nature.
Yeah. And then what I've seen with women is everything that has to do with serial killers and murderers and any kind of thing that has to do with like sexual assault. By the way, to answer your Richard Ramirez question, he was convicted in 1989 of 13 counts of murder, 5 attempted murders, 11 sexual assaults, and 14 burglaries.
He's like coronavirus back then. That's why people didn't go outside back then. That's literally why. He's
like the worst. He's one of the worst serial killers like ever in terms of like. Well, I don't know about that.
Speaking of serial killers, you heard about I think it was on the Brooklyn trains. I think I spoke to you about this.
No, I haven't heard of it.
So what's been happening is that he got arrested because I think he fessed up and he got himself took in. So he'd go on the train and literally just like straight up stabbings of homeless people. I think he did it 4 times, and on the same train, if I do believe so. And they were bad. Like, he'd just go in, kill them, stab them, and then just bounce. And then he'd just leave everything there, like the crime scene and everything. And then the police would find them, show up. And it was, like, from the pictures that I saw, it was bad. And that's another thing. Are you squeamish?
No.
You're not?
Not really. But when I just don't like anything having to do with, like sexual abuse stuff.
Oh no,
like shit like that is like nuts.
Yeah, that's too much.
That I can't watch. But like as far as like I guess pictures of like, what are you gonna show me? I mean, I don't know what you're gonna show me.
I was gonna show you
like a dead body.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not?
I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's another thing. Certain things that you show people affect their mood.
I think most things.
Most things.
Yeah. I think.
But
most
like,
things.
how though?
What do you mean how?
Because, I mean, it wouldn't really affect how I feel about, like, my day. Like, if I see a picture of somebody and I'm like, they died. Oh, well, all right. You gotta go get food and do stuff.
Jesus Christ. Well, I mean, to be fair, like, I'm sure...
That's a perfect example of it doesn't affect me, so I'm gonna go on with my day.
I think you and most of us were desensitized because we're constantly seeing insane shit
Oh
on
yeah.
everything, on Twitter. And if you really want to see crazy shit, like there was this website back in the day called like rotten.com. And if you wanted to see like the most heinous shit, you just go on that, and then just like it's just pictures and videos of like bodies and fucking and decaying matter and this and shootings and decapitations. There's like all the craziest shit that you ever want to see.
Yeah.
And there's something about that people can't really look away for some reason. Like, and
Because we've never seen it before. It's like, what the hell is going on? Because
yeah,
it's curiosity. Because it's things that we haven't seen before. So we're like, damn, this is real. This is life. And a perfect example of that, my friend just got into, I can't find it, but my friend just got into a nursing program, right? And he just started his first day, I think, on Thursday. And, you know, he's taking care of people and stuff. And he, out of everybody that was working there, he helped out like the most. As like, that was his first day. And they had a whole bunch of students there, student nurses. And on his first day, somebody already came in and they were in cardiac arrest, which was like their heart stopped beating. And they started to like...
first day.
Like, yeah, literally the first day. And they called this code and he was like, he didn't hear it. So he's in the middle of the hallway and they're like, move. So they put him in a room, cardiac arrest. They tried to get his heart beating again with the defibrillator and everything. And then he's like, wow, my first day, I saw somebody dead and come back to life. But they didn't come back like stable. But as far as I know, that's like the most that I knew. And on your first day, that's crazy because you technically saw somebody die because their heart stopped beating.
Yeah.
And then, you know, first day of work, you know, and then you go home and you're like, oh, wow, that was crazy.
I've heard crazy stories of cops having similar like experiences of that. Like on the first or second day, they see just traumatizing shit, and they can't react to it. They have to push it down because they have to do their job, or they can't show it because they don't want to, you know, you can't, there's not really time or space to show that kind of emotion around your coworkers or maybe even around your family sometimes. Especially,
do cops get mental checkups or no?
Frequent mental checkups?
Yeah.
You'd have to ask them. I'm not really sure. I know they don't get enough training in general. They only kind of train maybe like in the beginning, and then that's it. They don't keep retraining. I think maybe if something happens, they'll go and get mental checkups. And I'm sure they have the opportunity to go do so. Yeah,
but they won't go.
I guess it's up to them. It's up to the person. Yeah. You know, I really don't know, to be honest. Because even, do you think personally, I haven't been to therapy.
Yeah.
And not because I'm against it, but
just because you've never gone.
Because I've never gone, because I found other forms of therapy, but I'm not completely closed-minded. I'm not closing that possibility off, like, of getting it.
Yeah, right.
But it does take a lot of energy to kind of say, okay, this is what I need, and this is what I'm gonna
do from now on.
Do for myself from now on, and then we'll see what happens. There's a lot to even get to that point. But it depends on
if you don't have that output though.
Yeah.
If you don't have that output though, you know how much like burning car, perfect example. If you don't have that output, things just build up to the point that you're just like, I don't care. I don't give a I don't care anymore.
That's where I'm at. I mean, I just saw this post today.
That's a perfect example of I'm going to just say whatever the fuck I want to. And if you take it a certain way, you know, I'm sorry, but no.
I saw this beautiful post today. This, you know who Biggs Burke is? Biggs is one of the people that Jay-Z started his career with. It's one of his friends, and he was on his team, and they built that empire together. And recently he's been posting a lot of like really inspirational messages on Instagram. So one of the things he said today was release anything that no longer feels good to carry. And I think that's what I'm trying to do. No, that's what I'm doing today. And sure, I had somebody who was like, well, Randy, you know, I sense that there's a lot of misplaced anger here. You know, you have to maintain your mental health. There's always someone that has it worse, so you don't have that much of a right to be angry. The fuck I don't. What? Listen, what the fuck? Like, I'm not this. I understand that this podcast, right? This is mine. This is my this is my podcast.
This is my baby.
Yeah, it's R&D, Randy, research and development. I'm trying to figure things out. I'm trying to find the right path. You know, I'm trying to get some answers here. I'm going to voice my concerns, my opinions. That's what it's about. So I don't know anything. I don't know anything at all. I'm figuring it out. And it's true, it's all relative, right? Because I'm on a podcast and I'm talking about how I feel. A lot of people don't have that same opportunity. A lot of people are working more than 12 hours a day. I've met them. I know, you know what I mean? So I know what that is to constantly be working, constantly have something over your head, constantly be stressed all the time, worrying, fear, bills, future, pregnancies, all that shit, all that shit combined, right? They have it worse. I'm sure they have it worse, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend like every day in my life is beautiful and perfect. That's not real. If I'm really trying to do something here that's real, then I have to be honest about that. And this is the thing, man.
I need solutions.
I'm angry a lot. I'm trying to work through that. So I have to talk about that, and I have to really let it out a little bit. I have to. So if I want to talk about murdering the person that took my parking spot, I'm gonna do it. And if I want to set their car on fire, I'm gonna do it. You know, to be really honest, I parked in front of it today.
Have you ever had those thoughts where it's like
I have those thoughts all the time.
You know, it's just like I could do it, and if I did do it, you know, it would become that reality. But I'm not going to.
I've had criminals on this podcast. And I'm not going to say their names, but I've had people on this podcast that have done unthinkable things to cars and people. And of course, why wouldn't I just call them and be like, hey, look, this is what we got to do. And they're so far gone that they would do it, and we would do it, and we would take care of this car and maybe even this person. But we're not going to do that because that's illegal. But I'm going to think about it. I'm going to think about it a little bit.
You said you parked in front of the car?
Today, I parked in front of it. I saw it. And then I'm like, is this the same car? And then I looked at my notes because I wrote down the license plate, and it was the same car.
Oh, yeah. Did you leave the car there? Is it there right now?
It's there.
Right now?
It's not blown up yet. It's there. Yeah.
Wait, so the parking spot was...
over here, yeah.
Oh, what? I didn't even know that.
It's by my home. This is where I park. Like, this is where I stay.
I hope they get pissed.
I mean, nothing's happened yet, but... maybe one day. I don't know. It's funny.
Do you want something to happen so that you have an excuse to interact with this person?
Of course. Let me ask you. let me rephrase it. Right.
All
so
right.
I have this at the barbershop that I go to. It's the Standard Barbershop in Copiague. Shout out to them. There's a barber there, and his name is Kelvin. And every time somebody walks, he's been taking like I think it's like a morale class at his college, or whatever. Or an ethics class, whatever it is. Ooh. So he's been asking everybody that comes in, hey, would you kill one to save 100? What would you do? And he's asking everybody that walks in. Everybody that walks in, he's asking, he's like, and so he asked me, he's like, Randy, and he like finds different ways to ask it. If you're in a car and you're going down the road and you see that on the road there's 5 people, but you can save them by switching lanes. But then in the other lane, there's one person. Do you switch lanes? Do you switch lanes and kill the one, or do you kill the 5?
Oh no, I'm killing the one.
And I know who the one that I would kill would be. And they're the owner of, I'm not gonna say the car.
At any moment, I think I'd go for the least amount of casualties. But yeah. Between 1 or 100 people, I'm killing one person. Like, that's just the logic of it, right? That's the ethics of it.
Right.
So why would you, between killing 1 and 100 people, you feel more guilt from killing 100, right? And the ethics of it's like is like you'd rather kill one person than 100 because it's less people, but I don't want to feel the guilt of taking 100 lives. So
of course not.
Yeah, of course not. So it's more for myself than for the people. So that's a good question though, because I don't know. I don't know if anybody would say 100. I don't know anybody
No.
that would.
Well, they don't want to kill anybody, right? That's like that is the crux of the situation. It's like, do you kill one, or do you kill 100?
And you're supposed to say nobody?
Well, you kind of have to find, like, are you okay with killing one to save 100?
Yes.
Is like the whole thing. So you could say, no, I'm not comfortable with killing anybody.
Right.
And I'm not either, but I will say, I mean, like Tupac said it, is like, I'm not a killer, but don't push me.
Right.
Most killers, unless you're Richard Ramirez, like most killers, like they don't really, they have to be pushed to that limit. And actually, even Richard Ramirez, like he had a terrible childhood. He was molested. He witnessed murders at a young age, like horrible upbringing. The same for the BTK killer. The same for Ted Bundy. Actually, I don't even know how bad that was. But the point is, it's probably like the best example of like hurt people hurting people.
Yeah.
Right. And that's just what it is. And that's why, maybe I'm hurt. Maybe I'm just affected by the weather. Like, do people really understand how much the weather affects them? Because it's been gray, it's been cold, it's been bleak,
gloomy. Yeah.
it's been dark.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's why people that live in that, they're harder people, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think if you go to Siberia, you're gonna find anybody? I'm sure there's nice people, but you think you're gonna find anybody that's bothered by little things, or just, not even bothered by little things, like completely comfortable?
Right.
No. They have to stay warm. They have to work. They have to do things. And again, it's all relative. Like, who the fuck am I? Like, well, Randy, you live in Long Island. You said you're educated. You have a job. Like, you're on a podcast. Like, how much can you really complain? Oh, I'll complain how fuck much I want. If you don't listen, nobody has to listen. Nobody has to listen. I'm sure people have already stopped listening to this, but nobody. Do you think? Let me ask you a question.
All right, go for it.
Do you think people have time to really give a fuck?
No.
Because they have to live their own life. They have to figure shit out.
But people still do.
What?
Give a fuck.
About what?
Well, whatever.
Definitely not this. Definitely not this show. Definitely not this episode.
Of course not.
Nobody fucking cares, bro. I'm telling you, nobody cares. People are too distracted. Whether it be from their personal lives, from, I have to figure this out at work. I have to figure this. I have to do this. I have to do that. Like, I have to keep up with my friends in this way.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be the best person in this way. Like, I have to watch this. I have to. Look at this. Look what's happening here. You know what I mean? Distract. People are constantly distracted in different ways. They're constantly being tugged and pulled in different directions.
Right.
And that's, if people do see this as some sort of wellness podcast, as a podcast where they can learn a little bit, maybe become a little bit motivated, that's positive, and I love that, right? But I'm not going to sugarcoat shit anymore. I'm not going to dumb it down anymore. I'm not. I'm just, like, for some episodes, I'm going to be respectful of the guests I have on. You know what I mean? But in general, no. You know what my fear is? I'm afraid, like, people are going to listen to the This is what goes on in this crazy mind of mine. Like, somebody's gonna listen to like the past 5 episodes and I'm like, this guy's soft. Then somebody's gonna see me on the street and it's like, yo, you a dude from R&D podcast? Are you Randy? Yeah, man, I'm Randy.
You pussy.
How's it going, man? Do you listen? Yo, run your shit, pussy. And it's like, oh my God, what? Like, it's robbing me now. I'm gonna get robbed in the street because I'm all positive. I'm happy. I'm the happy-go-lucky guy. And get the fuck out of here. Like,
I have an excuse to fight somebody now.
I'm just trying to figure out what the best way is. And if we can all do that together, that's cool.
Right.
If we can learn together, that's cool. I'm not going to act like what I don't want to do is just saturate the wellness market even further. Like, I'm not just like, or one of these, like, you just got to do it this way. This is all you have to do. All you have to do is meditate. No, it's not just about meditating. It's a whole package. You have to find little things that you want to change and then start step by step.
It's different for everybody.
It's different for everybody. You know what I mean? It's different. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend like shit isn't real. A lot of people are going through different things. A lot of people are out of work. A lot of people are struggling with their family life, their work. Like, just they're trying to balance everything out. Am I doing the best thing? My parents are disappointed in me. My car is breaking down again. I have car trouble all the time. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I got to get a new whip, but they're not giving me the raise at work. They're not giving me the shot that I want to get. It's all of that. People live through all of that every day. So I'm not I'm not oblivious to that.
Can
Yeah,
I say
of course.
something? Fuck their expectations.
I mean, fuck it.
Fuck them.
Fuck it. Like, listen, this is shooting season right now. All right, like this whole show right now, this episode right now is, if people were listening and they were entertained, cool. But if you're offended by anything,
Cool.
Listen. Just
Perfect.
don't listen to me. Don't listen to anybody. It's what you were saying. Like, if you don't listen to anybody.
Of course.
Like, listen.
If you have a problem with it and you really want to learn about a certain thing and you think we're talking about it and it's wrong, look it up for yourself. Take the initiative.
Don't listen to anybody. Don't listen to fucking. Don't listen to, like, I love Rogan. I love Tim Dillon. I love Huberman. But like, you can listen to these guys, and you can take little bits of information that apply to you. But don't just because they said it, you're just running with it. And people do this with politicians, which is crazy. They don't care if anybody is a whore, it's a politician, because they just what are the people feeling right now? Okay, because they want to stay in office, right? They want to keep that power. What are people feeling right now?
They want money.
Is this what they're feeling? Okay, me too. Fuck it, yeah. It's gonna keep me in office. It is I have to.
It's no 2 inches. People are angry. I'm angry.
Yeah.
This is unacceptable. This is just.
And then people fucking listen. See, now we're gonna go off the deep end right here, right? Like, there are people that really think that having the right person in office, the right person at the top, is gonna change everything.
Not really. No.
It won't.
Changing shit really doesn't really fucking happen unless you get off your lazy ass, which I'm saying that to myself as well, but...
We all have to say it to ourselves.
Of course.
Yeah.
But nothing really changes unless you do something, right? And, people got so excited with, like, Biden going into office, right? Nothing's gonna fucking change.
No,
we're just not gonna have as much entertainment on Twitter from fucking Trump as we do now. So literally the only thing that changes is an old white man that's just quiet now in the White House rather than a loud ass one, right?
How long do you think Kamala starts plotting to assassinate Joe Biden? If that hasn't started already, I could. Why not?
He doesn't. She doesn't have to.
She doesn't have to, right? I mean, it's just the right
He's
moment,
old.
right? You just slip something in the drink, maybe in the food. Huh?
Here's some Alka-Seltzer. It'll make you feel better.
Wake you up a little bit.
Wakey.
Joe. Listen, it's not going to change. That shit is not going to change everything. Did you see what just happened yesterday with the? Let me try to look this shit up. So
I was gonna speak about that. Hold on.
Oh, you want to hold on? Let me pull this.
Go for it.
So, do you know what happened with
talk to me.
That journalist that was killed in I believe in Saudi Arabia?
No, I don't.
His name was Jamal Khashoggi.
Jamal Khashoggi.
Yeah, so just yesterday the US released a report pretty much confirming that God, hold on. Let me just find the fucking... Say something so I can find it. Just say something.
So then they murdered him, but for like...
If you really want to...
Saudi Arabia, you said?
Yeah, well, if you really want to get a good detail of what happened and how it happened, I would recommend watching The Dissident.
Right.
And it's unfortunately it's not on... It's not picked up where you can stream it directly on anything. And that's crazy. It's on its own, right? But if you want to watch The Dissident, it kind of outlines the whole thing that happened with the murder of this man, right?
Right.
So the report that came out is pretty much saying that it's proving the assumption that the Saudi prince approved Jamal Khashoggi's death. Before, there was no direct link, but now like there's reports coming. And by the way, like this has been known for the most part. Like there's no moves being made in Saudi Arabia without the prince's go ahead, because that's how they run shit. But it's proven now. They're listen. The Biden administration released a report. Let me read it right here. On Jamal Khashoggi's killing, proving that, or just declaring that the Saudi prince did give the order.
Like he gave the okay, like kill him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is kind of nuts, right? So then everybody's saying, oh my God, we have to completely cut off Saudi Arabia now. But Biden won't do that.
Right.
And now he's getting all this backlash, right? Because people are like, because he was running on the whole thing of, well, we have to protect human rights all around the world.
We have to work together.
We have to enforce this all around the world. So then now he's being pressed on it. And he's like, well, accept this one, guys. Except this one. So now, people are realizing like, oh, it is all talk. And I'm like, of course it was all talk.
It's all talk to begin with. That's what the presidential race is. Now, all talk.
Yeah. And let me say something too, right? The relationship that U.S. has with Saudi Arabia, it's a pretty long-standing relationship, and it's not one that you can get rid of just like that. I think there's strategic reasons why you can't completely eradicate, where you can't completely burn that bridge. Mm-hmm. And we're not going to go into that right now. Maybe in another episode we'll dive into the details, but it just proves that there's nuance to everything. But it also proves that these guys, they don't really do what they're going to say. These people in charge aren't really the people in charge. They're not. They're not. They're not. And as soon as if people stop believing in this politician is going to save everything, this politician is going to save me, government is going to save me, you've already lost if you believe that.
Because you're depending on somebody.
Yeah, it has to be with the fucking individual. If you take anything from this podcast overall, is that it's about the individual. It's not about groupthink. It's not about somebody saving you. It's about you saving yourself.
Taking your own opinion for certain events or situations in your life. In that sense.
I mean, it's just no time, bro. Like there's not that much time left for everybody on this planet. We are here for a limited amount of time. So if you're not saying what you believe, if you're not thinking what you want to think, how free are you? How free are any of us?
How much life are you living?
I don't listen. Who the fuck am I? I mean, who am I? Right? You know what I mean? Like,
don't doubt yourself. Okay.
I don't know anything, bro. I'm so out of the loop. I don't know. You want me to tell you how out of the loop I am? And I'm just so disconnected because I'm like always working.
Okay.
My friend recently had like a Zoom gender reveal, right? And God bless him. You know what I mean? Like shout out to Juan, shout out to Maite, like beautiful baby they're gonna have, healthy. God willing, it just...
They just type it's a boy and they leave.
No, it's going to be a girl. It's going to be a girl.
Oh, it's a girl. Yeah. Okay.
And, God bless them, man. And it was a fun Zoom thing, right?
His name is Mike?
No, well, who, the father of the baby?
Yeah.
No, Juan. Yeah.
Congratulations, Juan.
Shout out to Juan, bro. So I'm in this Zoom call and I'm the first one to arrive. And I hate that. I don't like... And if anybody knows me, they know I don't like arriving first to any occasion. I'm not a big fan of it. Any function, I don't like arriving first. I don't think anybody does, right? Especially a fucking Zoom call. But whatever. I got to talk to my boy a little bit. We're chatting. And then people start coming in and then I'm like, whoa, okay, this is like, it was way more people than I anticipated. And whatever, it's all love at the end of the day, right? Mm-hmm. But it's at 9 p.m. or something that we're having the Zoom call. So I had just washed my hair. And I have my hair in a hair turban. If you don't know what that is, you don't have long hair. So look at the fuck up. Again, look it up. I have my hair in a hair turban so that it dries a little bit faster. So now I'm on the Zoom call with all these people and and everybody's asking like, what is that on Randy's head? Like, what's going on with this? Is that a towel? Like, what do you, like, what's going on here? I'm very comfortable. And everybody has like their own like setup, like their own backdrop, like this perfect, beautiful, like homey backdrop, or like this space, like this kind of like this workspace,
this
or
nice,
like,
clean living room.
Great setup. Like I'm just like just white wall behind me, just man with towel on his head. Like what the fuck is going on? And then the people coming in are like, oh, this is my 50th Zoom call of the day, and I'm like, what? Like 50, and I don't even know where like the buttons are. I'm like fuck. The people on the screen, like where are they? I'm like trying to like get them back on the screen. I'm trying to like everybody's like muting themselves. I was like, oh, I guess I should mute myself too. And then the people that don't mute themselves, like, what's on Randy's head? What is that? Like it's
so you were foreign.
Mayhem in there.
You were foreign to using Zoom call.
I'm just so out of the loop. I'm so disconnected.
You know what that proves? That proves that the coronavirus has not affected your way of living if you don't have to use that.
Well, bro, it just... Yes, in a way, yes. But the thing is, this is what I was telling Juan. I have a very different experience of how everything went down. I never stopped working. I never stopped going into work. I was always on the move. I was always just going.
Did they ever give you the option to not go into work?
Sure, yeah.
And to work from home?
Not really, but they pretty much said like if I was uncomfortable to not come in. But
You
what
don't have
I
to come
do,
in.
because I work in manufacturing, you have to kind of be there because you're actually
It's all hands on.
you're creating
you're
something
creating,
from
right?
scratch.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why it's like it doesn't really fit that. But and also I live and work in Long Island.
Mm.
So Long Island's approach to things it has been much different than the way New York City has approached it. You know what I mean? So just that alone, it's different. So I don't completely relate to everything that most people are going through because I just had my own experience. Whether it was better, worse, I mean, I guess that's up to the person's opinion, right? But it's just my experience. So anything with Zoom or anything like with like virtually connecting that way, completely lost. And I'm like, this is crazy. This is crazy. This is nuts. Like I felt like I entered the Matrix when I was in that Zoom call.
Okay, so going into all of that, with the way you live your life, right? Do you like separating your areas of work and comfort? For example, like you go to work and like you're in a certain you have a certain vibe in you, or like you're in a certain mood that it's like, all right, I'm here because I have to work, so let's get productive and stuff like that. And you go home and you're like, oh, I can relax, I can lay back, right?
Mm.
When that shit gets like taken from you,
yeah,
it's hard. It's hard because when you're home and you're like, oh, I have to spend 5 hours of my day working at home, right? And you don't really want to
No.
because you're working on a computer. Half your life is on a computer already. I have to spend the other half on a computer again. Fuck that. So why, those separations and those borders of work and life, when that gets combined, it kind of fucks everything up, right? And it just it fucks with everything. So if I'm home, right, and they're telling me to work at home, I'm obviously home to relax and to enjoy my day. So my productivity and work will be, how do I say this? Shit. So I had to, adapt to that in the last couple of months, and now I'm doing well, right? And it's difficult, but you get used to it, and you get off those Zoom calls, and then you're just like, you're hit with like exhaustion. And you're like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, I can imagine, man. Yeah, and something John was telling me is that one of the fucked up things about working from home is, if you set up your little workspace and you have like that little spot like at home where you can do all the work that you have to,
you don't want to be there.
You don't want to be there, and you associate that space in
saying.
your home with
saying.
work or with school. So it's like anytime you kind of like, I guess, pass by it, or anytime you're home, you don't leave that anxiety of work and school at work and school. You're bringing it home then, and that's tricky. That's tricky in its own way too.
Because so for example, as most normal people do, I work at my desk where I have my computer and stuff, and usually that's where I spend like most of my day.
Yeah.
Just playing games or whatever the fuck. And now that I sit in that chair and then I'm exhausted, and then I go take a nap, and then I go do my work. And then, later maybe I want to use up my free time, and I sit in that chair again, and then my body's like, oh, time to work.
Yeah.
No. I don't want to work. I want to enjoy my day.
Yeah.
Fuck that. No.
It's bullshit. It's bullshit. I don't. What are you gonna do? That's one of my favorite things to say now. By the way, I've been watching The Sopranos, and they always say, "What are you gonna do?" But I like saying that when you can do something about it.
Yeah, because it makes you realize.
Yeah, when you actually can do something, like think, no, what are you gonna do?
It either gives you comfort or gives you an idea to take initiative.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So how earlier we were talking about how a day can either be great for you or like it can be bad for you because other people have it very badly in different countries and they're living bad lives. Cool.
Yeah.
Fuck them. But but so I was watching I was watching this video of these people doing, I think it was like 75-kilometer bike ride in Japan. It's this bike path, right?
Okay.
So there's easy and there's a hard route, and then there's a bridge with like a beautiful view, right? So they they put these two crunched up papers into like a little basket, and then they take a random pick at it as to who gets the easy route and who gets the hard route, right? So the hard route has like a bunch of hills, a bunch of uphill, a bunch of like turns and stuff. Cool. So one guy gets the hard route, one guy gets the easy route, and they went the wrong ways. So the guy that got the easy route went up a damn hill and had to do all that work, and the other guy, had a nice cruise. When the guy that had the nice cruise got to the bridge, he was like, oh, damn, this is a really nice view. And he took the time to stay there and just take it in, right? And by the time the other guy got there and he was tired as fuck, he was like, fuck this view. I don't give a fuck. Just let this be over with, right? Yeah. So it just gives you like a different type of standpoint. That's a perfect example of like how your journey, it takes place, right? Let's say there's hardships. Sure, those are my hardships, right?
Yeah. So
what the fuck does that have to do with people that are, have to deal with like getting food daily, right? I'm like, oh, okay, cool. It's.
I know what you're saying.
To be realistic, it's rough, right?
Yeah.
But I already have to deal with that. I'm not gonna feel bad about people that don't have food. You can, right?
But you're not gonna be consumed about it because you have your own things going on.
Yeah, and that goes into ethics and stuff, and I'll speak about that in a second, right? But like, it goes into how, even outside opinions, and advice, it's just like, just let me do what the fuck I have to do, right?
That's it.
And then once I get past all this bullshit, then I'll be like, oh, okay, sunshine, rainbows, I can enjoy my day and have fun. And that goes into like, have you ever heard the word eudaimonia?
No.
So it goes into ethics and stuff, because I've been researching Aristotle and all his philosophical works, right?
That's
because
cool, man.
I'm doing it for school, and I'm about to start this book. It's called Nicomachean Ethics. So Nicomachean, right? He was Aristotle's father, but then he also named his son after his father, right?
Wait. So
Aristotle, right?
Yeah.
And the name of the book, right? The first part of it was his dad's name. And he named his son after his father, right? And that book is based off of all the notes that his son took during his father's classes, right? And going back to the word eudaimonia, it means the highest human good, or like the means to something, right? When there's a means to something, there's a goal, there's something to strive for. When you drive a car, you're obviously driving for the means to get to point B, right? So from point A to point B, you have that goal. And when you do have that goal, you have ambition, or there's a balance for everything, right? So you either have lack of ambition or you have proper ambition. Proper ambition would be the in-between, right? And going into like other ethics such as like cockiness or like confidence, right? There's always an in-between for these things, right? And I feel like that goes into how life is lived. Does that make sense? Like, from what I've said so far, what have you taken in? If you could actually like...
I'm trying. So I see you have this. I know for those that are listening, I apologize, but there's this table that Esteban has me looking at. Can you explain this table and maybe?
So this table, right? So there's virtues and then there's vices, right?
Yeah.
So so pleasures and pains. A vice would be self-indulgence. A virtue would be temperance. And then another vice would be insensibility, which would be like not giving a fuck, right?
Okay.
And temperance is like taking,
tolerating it a little bit more.
Yeah, okay, right. Yeah. So that goes into what balance is, and you don't, like how I said, right, about when people are dealing with stuff, you don't really have the time to think about these things because you're trying to get from point A to point B, and that involves the means. So when you have the means, you have to realize what you need from point A, from the beginning, to get to point B. So now, just ending with that, it's more of like with your situation with work and everything, you're like, oh, okay. Point A, I shovel my parking spot. Point B, I intend to park in that parking spot, and then there come the hardships.
Okay.
The bastard parks in the parking spot.
Right. Yeah.
And then
we murder him. No, illegal. No. It's a joke. It's a joke, guys.
Yes, of course. But you get to that point, and then you're like, okay,
What's right and what's wrong?
yeah,
Okay.
you understand? Do you understand what I'm saying better?
Yeah.
So like, nothing will happen if you unless you have the means to do so. Unless you have the means to do so, nothing will happen. So the means in this case would be getting off your ass and stop being lazy, right? And
What's the name of the book?
Nick McCain Ethics.
Ethics.
Yes.
Okay.
So looking into that stuff, it's a lot. I still have to read it and everything, but the way he lived life was, he lived, his mother and father died at a young age, right? And he went on to become a scholar, and he studied under Plato, right? And he stayed there for 20 years at a school studying. Plato died, and because of the place that he lived and where he was now, there was they didn't really like. I guess it was a form of discrimination towards his culture, right? So he left, and after that, he taught like Alexander the Great and everything. He taught a bunch of people that went on to be royalty, right? So his life was well lived, and he developed a bunch of things. And this book has, so many solutions to what we deal with now. To that, like, for example, I searched up because he developed like the form of analytical thinking, right? And that was back in like 4th century, right? 4th century BC. And you search things up, and I searched up who developed analytics or analytical thinking, and it pops up like a 14th century person, right? And I'm like, we have all these solutions that we've gathered, and yet we still look to solutions from recent times, right? So if we've had this shit figured out for the longest point, why do we keep on looking for answers? Why?
Like in the immediate. Like,
Exactly.
Why aren't we looking
Exactly.
back
Why
for the
aren't we
answers?
looking back?
Wow.
So
yeah.
when you have that and you have the means, then the main goal in life is happiness, and they talk about that in the book. Nothing else matters other than your happiness in life, and unless you have the means, like I said, you won't get to that point. And when you get to that point, it really doesn't end, because just the same thing in life, from point A to point B, boom, you're done, right? Not really, because then you develop a different goal in life.
Okay. Yeah.
So you just keep going. And when you...
So it makes happiness elusive.
Yes.
Like, it's like you can achieve it, but it's almost like it's temporary. A little bit, right?
It's never...
Because you're gonna keep finding.
It's not
new
everlasting.
goals. Yeah, right, exactly. And that's the thing. Like, happiness is a choice, and we do have to practice it every day, or we practice different forms, different kind of ways to find what you like and find like what brings you happiness, and then work at it, right? But we have a right to be angry too.
Of course.
We have a right to be upset too, and that's really one of the things that I want to
Because then...
be clear on is like this. That's just not real, being happy all the time, because especially when you're a little bit older or not, adult or not, right? We're all human beings, and we're all trying to figure it out. And in that process of figuring out, there's going to be assholes that you have to,
To the people listening to this, right? Whatever you feel during any time is what you feel. There's no such thing as like a right feeling and a wrong feeling, because once you associate it, that's what gets you down. But at the same time, it doesn't really matter, right? Because, I just had the thought in my head.
That's cool.
And it's gone.
I like what you said, though. I like what you
No,
just said.
yeah. But it doesn't really matter, because what you feel is what you feel. And if you don't if you don't recognize what you're feeling and you try to act a different way, then you're being unrealistic to yourself. So you're going further away from realizing who you are as a person.
Yeah. Wow. That's true.
So you keep on doing that, and you keep on convincing yourself that you're happy in the situation that you're in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And once you realize it at that point, and you think it's too late, it's never too late.
Okay. I
Mhm.
like that.
So be true to yourself, even if it means that you're maybe some dickhead that doesn't take consideration for like certain things, and you want to do what you want to do. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Go for it. I don't give a fuck. You know, that's your life. What about you? How do you feel right now? You know, we're talking about this podcast and everything. We're talking about how the parking spot and everything. And how do you feel in this current moment?
Oh, I'm livid.
Yes, because we just we just talked for an hour talking shit about everything.
Sure.
And you got your point across.
I do. No, I'm kidding, right? Like I've been feeling angry for a lot of different reasons, and it's something that I've been able to work at. But like because I've been able to kind of like yell a little bit and like talk about the fact, just being realistic. Like I'm angry, I'm stressed, I have a lot going on. Like actually voicing that out, I think is also helpful. But don't lie to yourself.
Of course.
Like feel what you feel and accept what you feel. And what I feel like I want to do is set a car on fire.
Yeah. And that's okay.
And that's okay. And I think that's a perfect way to end it.
Set that car on fire, ladies and gentlemen, whenever you need to.
Yeah. If you see me in the news, you'll know why. Good night.